everyone, my name's Barclay Loggie and welcome if this is your first visit to my channel, and if you've been with me for a little while, it's great that you've stuck with me, thank you. Today we're going to look at a particular stitch and a technique that is used all over the world, and the stitch is called right angle weave. So the next few videos will be kind of like a masterclass on right angle weave. And we're going to start right with the very basics and then broaden it a little so that we take the stitch a bit further. Now, we're going to start right at the very beginning. So if you're a new seed beader, if you want a refresher's course, this is going to be the perfect place to start, because we're going to start with a very simple right angle weave bracelet. This is the one we're going to make. I've used two colours, so I guess I could have made it even simpler starting with just one colour, but actually in my mind using the two colours made it simpler to see where the thread path was going to go next. So that's what our first little video is going to be about. We're then going to take it a bit further. So this piece here is the same stitch that we've just looked at in the black and gold one, but this is just using one colour, two different sized beads, and that we're then going to learn to embellish, which will look something a little like this. Now I've turned this into a rainbow one because we're still going through a pretty rotten time, and having something with a few colours just seems to cheer everybody up. So we're starting at the very beginning, and then once I've filmed all the videos, I'll pop all the links in the description so that you can find the links to the various other pieces that we're going to be doing as well. As with all my videos, we'll start by looking at the materials that we need first. So it's just two kinds of beads. I've got matte black, Miyuki matte black in a size 8 seed bead, and I have got a 3mm fire polish, and these are called Crystal Full Amber. They're a lovely kind of dull gold shade. I am using Fireline in 6-pound weight. I like to use Black Satin purely because it doesn't seem to leave any residue on your fingers when you're using it. And I've got a toggle clasp. I've got my thread zapper to end off my threads, and I'm using a size 10 beading needle to get my work done. Just a couple of things before we get started. I am going to bead a small section of this bracelet. It's a very repetitive pattern the whole way through, so you'd switch off after a few seconds of watching because it is just the same thing over and over again, but you would obviously bead a full length. The other thing to mention just before we get on with the beading is I'm often asked if I would do PDF tutorials for the YouTube videos I do. I haven't done that yet. I'm not ruling out the possibility of doing that, but for now I'm sticking with YouTube demos and PDF tutorials, which are different. But I do understand that everybody learns in a different way. So I've put together this little diagram as like a right angle weave masterclass, and I've got two different sizes of beads here, just as I've got two different beads in my beadwork and two different colours. So the silver beads on the diagram, or the silver circles on the diagram, represent the black beads in my beaded design, and the yellow circles represent the gold beads. And this whole design is right angle weave, and it's almost 3 rows of right angle weave. So when we're doing right angle weave, we're picking up 4 beads at a time. So I've got 1, 2, 3 black and 1 gold. And if you were to draw a line through those 4, you'd get your little square. And so if you look at that top row, that would be like my first row of right angle weave. My second row is going to be that middle section. So you've got a yellow at the top, a yellow at the bottom, and 2 black beads on either side, making up your 4. And my bottom row is going to be with the yellow bead at the top and 3 little black beads at the bottom. So I'm going to show you the thread path quickly. So each time we pick up beads, we're going to be going through 4 beads, or picking up 4, to make our right angle weave. So the very first one I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 1, 2, 3 black and a gold. So that makes my 4, and I need to get to this right hand side to continue with my design. So I'm just going to pass through those beads again till I'm through the bead that's on the right hand side. So to do that, I went in a clockwise direction. Now, following the thread path, the thread is going to be exiting the base of that black bead. I'm going to come out in an anti-clockwise direction. So I'm going to pick up a gold first, 1 black, 2 black, and my 3rd black I'm borrowing from the 4 before, and that will make up my 4 beads in this little square. And again, I need to get over to the right hand side because that's the way I'm beading. So I just pass back through those 2 beads so that I will then be exiting out the top of my black bead. And I'm now going in a clockwise direction again. So I'm going to pick up 1 black, 2 black, 1 gold, and my 3rd black I'm borrowing from before. So that makes up my 4, and again I pass through and I'm going anti-clockwise and picking up my beads and passing through, and I would continue with my pattern. So I'll come back to the diagram when we move on to the next line, but for now we're going to get going with the started. I've cut a length of about 2 meters of my Fireline, and I've threaded it onto my size 10 beading needle. And if I just pop that diagram back for one quick second, just to show you the first sequence of beads again, we're picking up 1, 2, 3 of our black and 1 of our gold to make our first little square. So I'm going to do exactly that. I'm picking up 3 of my size 8 Miyuki seed beads in the matte black and 1 of my fire polish. And I'm starting in this little corner here where I've got 3 black around the top and a little gold bead. I'm going to move them down towards the tail end of my thread, but I'm going to leave 15 to 20 centimeters of my tail because I'm going to be beading to the right, then I'm going to be beading to the left, and then I'm going to finish by beading to the right. So I'll have thread left to add on this end of my clasp, but my tail, my 20 centimeter tail that I'm leaving at the beginning, is going to be to add on the other end of my clasp. I'm holding the beads in my fingers because I don't want them to run off the end. I don't have a stopper bead, it's not needed in this one. And I'm just going to pass the needle back through all 4 of my beads. And this makes them secure, they're not going to go anywhere. And in order to pull them into the correct position, I need to pass the needle back through that very first bead that you added. And I will move my fingers out the way in a second. So it's actually probably better if I hold it for you. You can see you've got 3 black beads around the top and a gold bead at the bottom. But as we did in the diagram, we need to get to this extreme right hand side so that we can continue with our design. So I'm just going to pass my needle through the remaining 2 black size 8s. And now I'm ready, because my thread is exiting the base of this 8 on the end. I'm going to go in an anti-clockwise direction. So I'm going to pick up 1 fire polish, 2 of my size 8 seed beads, and remember the 3rd one we're borrowing from these 4 that came before to make up our new 4. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Pull my thread through, and again I need to get to the right hand side, so I'm going to pass back through the fire polish and out through the 8 that's on the side. Now I'm exiting the top of this 8, so I'm going in a clockwise direction. I'm going to pick up 2 more of my black 8s and one of my fire polish, and my fourth bead is made up by using or borrowing one of the blacks from the round before. And again, passing through those 2 seed beads that remain on the top so that I get to the outermost edge to continue my design. Now sometimes it can be difficult to see your pattern emerging, and I have a little tip for you, and that is to pull on your tail thread and pull on your working thread, pull it tight, and then when you place your work down you'll be able to see that pattern a bit more clearly. You'll be able to see the 3 beads sitting above each of the gold beads. So I'm going to do that a couple of times more just so that you get the pattern. I'm exiting the base of my 8, so I'm going in an anti-clockwise direction. I nearly made a mistake there. I need to pick up the fire polish first and then 2 more of my 8s, borrowing my 3rd 8 from the round before to make up my 4 beads. Pass through the beads to get to the outer edge, pick up 2 8s and a fire polish, and I'm going through that 8 from the opposite direction. Each time you'll see the thread is exiting the top and I'm going through that bead from the opposite direction, and I'm just going to pass my needle through those 2 8s that remain at the top, just so that I'm on the outermost edge. And again, if I give my 2 ends of my thread a little tug, it pulls everything into place so I can see my pattern developing. So that is my top row. Remember we said there were 3 rows. We're beading to the right, then we're beading to the left, then we're beading to the right to finish this little bracelet. So you'll bead a full length for your width, remembering, and I know I always say this, when you add in your toggle clasp, it adds about 1 inch to your beadwork. So if you normally bead a bracelet to be 7 inches long to fit on your wrist, make sure that that beaded strip is only 6 inches long, because by the time you add in your clasp, you'll have got to your 8 inches. So as per our diagram, we have completed this top section with the gold beads sitting at the bottom. So if I put my hand over it, we've completed that top row of our right angle weave. Now you could be doing this all in the same color. There's nothing to say you can't do that. I just thought using the 2 colors might make it more of a visual impact for you to see the thread path. So we're now going to move on to this middle section here. And before we do it with the beads, I'm going to do it on the diagram with you so that you see the thread path again. So at the moment, my thread is exiting this bead on the right here, and it's exiting at the top. And so what I need to do is come all the way through and be exiting the gold bead on the base, because that'll allow me to go in this direction to add my 4 beads here. Now it's going to be a little bit different on my beadwork, because on my beadwork I'm exiting the base of this bead, because here I've only done 4 sections and on my beadwork I've done 5. It doesn't matter whether you're exiting the top or the base, you just need to bead around until you are exiting this gold bead on the bottom here. So I would take my thread in this case, oops, I didn't mean to move the bead. That was a mistake. So I would take my thread all the way around these beads here until I'm exiting the gold bead at the bottom. I'm still going to be picking up 4 beads to make my little square, and this time I'm going to be picking up a little black, a gold, a black, and then the gold at the top will make up my 4. So I'll pick up a black, a gold, a black, and I will come through that gold again at the top, and I've made my 4. I now need to get to the left hand side. We were going to the right to continue beading that way, so it makes sense that we've got to get to the left to bead in the direction that we're going. So I'm going to take my thread all the way through until I'm exiting this black bead here on the left. So on this first section, I picked up my beads and I went in a clockwise direction. I'm now going to go in an anti-clockwise direction. And you can see I've got that gold sitting there from that first row we did. So I'm going to go through the gold, that's one bead. I'm going to pick up a black, I'm going to pick up a gold, and I'm going to go through the black from this first row of 4, which makes up our new row of 4. And we're completed with our 4 beads. So I'm going to come through to the left, and now I'm going in a clockwise direction again. Gold bead, black bead, borrow the gold from the row above, and you're pinching the black bead from the 4 before, and that makes up your 4. Coming through, and here we're going in our anti-clockwise direction, and I would come through and out the other end. So hopefully that diagram makes it a bit clearer. Back to the beads. Here I've got my thread exiting the base of the black bead on the end of my beaded strip, and I want to be exiting through the gold. So I just need to pass my needle back through that gold bead that's sitting there. A bit more thread out. Right, I'm ready to start my second row of 4, and that's going to be 1 black, 1 gold, 1 black, 3 beads, and I'm using the gold from the row above to make up my 4. If I pop that down there and pull that a little bit tighter there, you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, a gold top and bottom and a black either side. I need to get to this left hand bead now in order to continue. So I'm exiting the gold and I'm going to just pass down through the black bead. Oops. Now I'm going to be coming in a clockwise direction. I'm going to pick up the gold first for the base, a black for the side. I'm going to use the next gold along. Just open it up to spread it out a little. That's my third bead. And I'm going to borrow the black bead from the 4 before. So I'm just going to pass down through that black, and that makes up my second lot of 4 in this row. Now I need to be exiting this little black bead on the side, left hand side here. So I need to, without picking up beads, just pass through the gold and up through that one little black bead on the side. And I'm ready to start my next 4 with my thread exiting the black bead at the top. I'm going to go straight through that next gold that's waiting there for me, because I'm now going in my anti-clockwise direction. Pick up 1 black for the other side, a gold for the bottom, and we're going to come up through the black that we're borrowing from the previous 4. And we're going to go through the gold and come down through the black on the other side, because we want to be on that left hand side, and I've just got my tail caught up in there. So if I pop that down now and I just pull things into place, you can see how the gold beads are stacking up one on top of the other. I'm exiting the black at the base, so I'm coming in a clockwise direction now. I'm going to pick up a gold for the bottom, a black for the side, and I'm going to use the gold from the row above. And my 4th bead is the black that I pinch from the 4 before. And as always, I'm going to pass through the gold at the bottom and the black on the side. I've got one more section to do, and I'm coming out the top of my black bead on the side, so I'm going to automatically go straight through that gold that's waiting to be used on the top. I need one more black for the side, one for the bottom, and I'm going to come up through the black from the previous one. So there you have your second row complete, and we now need to turn and bead in the opposite direction, so going towards the right to complete our bottom row here. So I'm just going to pass through the gold at the top because I'm getting to the outer edge of my beadwork, so I can change direction, and I'm coming down through that black bead. And I'm going to bring the diagram in once more just to show you. Quite sure that by now you can see the pattern that's emerging. So what we've beaded so far is that section above my hand there, and here it is in the beadwork, ending in a row of the gold beads, and we've just got this last little lot of 4 to end on, and I'm sure you all know the pattern now, so we can go through it quite quickly. My thread is exiting the black bead on the left hand side. I want to be exiting from the gold bead, so whether you have to go clockwise or anti-clockwise, get your thread to be exiting out of this gold bead at the base here. And to finish off this last row, we're going to be using black beads. So I'm going to be picking up 1, 2, 3 and going through the gold as my 4th. And I'll come out of the black bead on the right, and I'm going to be picking up black, black, gold, and through the black and thread through to the outermost edge. So I'm coming out, my thread is exiting the gold bead, I'm picking up 3 black beads and going through the gold bead to make my 4th, and I'm coming out of the black bead on the right hand side. Now I'm going to go anti-clockwise. A black, a gold, and borrow the black from before. Thread all the way through till you are exiting the black bead on the right. Now we're going clockwise again. A gold, a black, pinch the black from the 4 before and thread all the way through until you're exiting on the right hand side. And so you continue going clockwise and anti-clockwise until you have completed your row. Looking back at the beads, I'm exiting at the end of my second row through a black, and I want to be exiting the gold so that I can complete my last row. So I'm just going to take my needle through that gold bead and just whip the tail out so that it doesn't get caught like it has done. Because remember, you're using that tail to add on one end of your clasp. So now you can see my thread is exiting this first gold bead at the bottom here. So I'm going to come round in a clockwise position. I need 3 black beads to complete my 4 at the bottom here. And I'm going to pass straight back through that gold bead from the opposite direction. I need to be coming through the black bead that's on the right hand edge so that I can continue beading to the right, and my thread is exiting the base, but on this occasion we're just picking up the black beads. So 2 more to make my 3 along the bottom, through the gold, that's my 3rd bead, and then down through the black from the 4 before. Passing through the next 2 so that you're exiting the black bead on the outermost edge. Now I'm going I'm going clockwise again, and I can just go straight through the gold bead from the row before. And I'm going to pick up 2 more black beads because I'm borrowing the 3rd one from the 4 before. There are lots of 4s and befores. I hope you're still with me. Straight through the gold bead at the top and down through the outermost edge, ready to continue. And I continue by picking up 2 black beads, coming through the gold. I'm going in my anti-clockwise direction and down through the black bead we borrow from the 4 that came before these ones, and then passing up through the 2 black on the outer edge. I'm exiting the top so I can go straight through the gold in my clockwise position. Pick up 3 beads, 2 beads, sorry. You're only picking up 2 because you're borrowing the 3rd one from before. And exit out of the black or the gold. If you were continuing, you would pass through this black bead on the end here and continue in an anti-clockwise position. This next little section, I'm just going to show you very briefly how I added on a clasp. As I say, there are no rules to this ever, but if I show you how I did it, it might make it simpler for you in the future. I want to be exiting this black bead in the middle here because that's the middle of my design, and it seems like a good place to add on my clasp. I'm going to use my size 8 black seed beads, and I'm going to pick up 2, and I'm going to come through the loop of one end of my clasp, and I'm going to go back through the bead that's closest to the clasp and pull everything through tight. And I'm going to pick up 1 more size 8 seed bead, and I'm going to come back through the 8 I started from the opposite direction. And when I pull this through, you'll see that it pulls everything in to a nice neat little finish on the end there with 4 beads. I would then go through all these beads again and through the loop in my clasp to reinforce it, because your clasp is the area that takes the most strain because you're constantly putting your bracelet on and taking it off. So I've come up through 2, I'm going through the loop and back down through the bead that's closest to the clasp and the bead on the other side, and back through the bead that you started from. So you'll see even the attachment to our clasp, I've just got hooked around a bead at the bottom there, even the attachment to the clasp is like a little bit of right angle weave, where I've just picked up 4 beads in total to attach that end of the clasp. Now, when you're doing right angle weave, you won't necessarily be picking up 4 beads every time. Some patterns will have a right angle weave netting where you pick up 8 beads in total, 2 for the left, 2 for the top, 2 for the right, and 2 for the base. But it's the same sort of principle as your right angle weave. So I hope you've enjoyed your masterclass, and remember to check back, because the next time we will be learning how to take right angle weave and embellish it into something that looks a bit like that. Thanks for watching. Bye.